Hello, Eastern West Virginia Technical and Community College students. Welcome to Fall 2025 Art Appreciation. Beginning of every semester, I make one of these little videos. It touches on the first discussion and kind of how to navigate the course in Brightspace. If you need more information about how to navigate Brightspace, like let's say this is your first class, the school has tons of information. This information is really just about our class. So let's jump right in. Let's keep this short and sweet. Okay, these are the learning outcomes. So by the end of the semester, you will successfully do all of these. You will recognize, analyze, identify, compare and contrast, present an opinion, all kinds of things that you will do, focusing on art and art appreciation. Okay, attendance. So the way this class works is a Monday to Tuesday cycle. So every Monday something will be due, and then every Tuesday new work will appear right at that 11:59, 12:01 switch over. So this is important right here. So discussions, I will often not re-accept discussions. If you miss a quiz or an exam, a test, email me. Email me, talk to me about it, tell me what's going on, and there's a likelihood that I will open that back up. Do it as soon as possible. If it is the last week of class and they're in late November and you're like, hey, will you open test one for me? You know, kind of, if you miss something, get with me. Discussions are usually only worth like 10 to 20 points. They're very small. So they're kind of just 1 week, get her done, check in every week. Okay, moving on. So where will you find all this stuff? What will all this stuff look like? Okay, so this is the basic kind of landing page when you first enter the course. There is this upcoming events. I know that this information is, this like picture is old. Don't worry about that. But here it's going to tell you the date of when things are due. So see how it says 11:59 p.m. there? So our first discussion is due 8:25, right, which is Monday. Now, do it now or do it as soon as you watch this video because it's going to track your attendance. If you don't accomplish that, there's a good chance that you will be dropped from the class because of the way funding works and whatnot. So get that done. You do not need to know anything about anything other than yourself. We're going to talk more about that soon. So do that now as soon as this video is over. All right, moving on. So a syllabus and assignment schedule. So that was kind of the landing page. If you click up here to course home, and then you'll see this table of contents, the start here welcome section, that's where this video will be located. I'm also going to email it to you guys. We're at this moment, this is happening before class starts. So then there's this syllabus and assignment schedule. You're going to want to refer to this pretty often. Every week is usually going to be a video lecture and then a discussion and then a quiz. So, and we'll talk about where you find these video lectures. So every video lecture will have a corresponding discussion and quiz. Sometimes they'll be grouped together. The only exception is going to be here week 4, which we're going to talk about here in just a moment. Okay, just to refresh, everything is due Monday at 11:59 p.m. The exceptions are the end of the semester, which ends on a Friday. So your final exam will be due on a Friday. There's little stars and stuff around it saying like, this is a short week, just so nobody gets kind of confused. The other exception is going to be the way Thanksgiving break works. So something will be due that Monday, which we are technically on Thanksgiving break, but that way you get the full time to do it. And then nothing will be due the next Monday. So we're just kind of you still get a week off. We're just kind of keeping with that hour class sort of rotation with that. So don't shoot me emails like, I didn't think anything would be due, right? You got a whole week to do it. Makes sense. Okay. What do you need for this class? You don't need anything but reliable internet access and, of course, your login information and whatnot. This course used to have a book, but we wanted to eliminate that. We're using an OER. Everything is online. Everything is for you guys. Everything is free. Eastern West Virginia and I are super proud of that. Okay, so how are you going to get information? How are you going to know what's going on? right? So here again, we have that, oops, let me get my little cursor thing. Here again, we have that table of contents, right? We talked about all this stuff. So now we're down here in Unit 1, the basics. And this is where the lectures will be. They're much like this. They're not perfect, sorry. They're much like this where I talk and you guys listen. I show you art. We talk about it. I talk about the discussion posts. They are important to watch. Again, they're not perfect, but they're free and readily available. And everyone would rather watch a video than read a chapter from a book. At least I would. So that's where you're going to get that information. Underneath of that is going to be the quiz. You can kind of see it there. And then there's lecture 2. So that is, so where are discussions? Oh, wait. Okay. Sorry. Before we move on from the lectures, there's just a couple things I want to touch on, especially this special note. So academic dishonesty, I'm not going to deal with it. Eastern's not going to deal with it. Copywriting, the use of academic materials. If you go to an outside source and say, hey, I did a little bit of additional research for this discussion post after I watched the video because I didn't quite understand blah, blah, blah. So I used blah, blah, blah website, right? That's acceptable, right? Use that, you know, cite your sources, and then it's not copywriting. That's basically it. Okay, syllabus change statement. Something changes, I'm going to email you. I'm going to post about it. Like, you're going to know if something changes. There'll be written notification. This is the important part, as the special notes. So due to art history and art appreciation is basically human history and human appreciation through the lens of art. So we're going to talk about things that may be a little bit uncomfortable. You're going to see nudity, male and female nudity. We're going to talk about things that might make you uncomfortable, things like human sacrifices, religions that you may not be part of, genocide, sort of suppression of some groups, sexuality, that kind of thing. So there's a lot that goes along with that, and we're going to touch on that time to time. We are all adults here in this class. This is a educational environment. Even though it might not feel like it because you're at home and you're watching a video, we're still in an academic educational environment. So that's why you're seeing some of the things that you're seeing. All right, now moving back to the course. Okay, so that's where the tests and exams are. We already kind of talked about that. They're usually 99.999% of the time directly underneath of the lecture that they correspond with. That's by design. Okay, the one time that things are different is there's a formal analysis. So 1 week out of the semester, you'll have to check your course calendar. Is you're going to write an essay. So there are video instructions for writing that essay. There are written instructions for writing that essay. There is a rubric of exactly how I am going to grade it. There is resources, right, which is the OWL Purdue Writing Lab website, right? That's for citing your sources. That's a great website for any college student to be familiar with. There's a link to the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Everything that you would need to write this assignment is in this section. So that's the 1 week that's a little bit different. There's no quiz that week. There is a corresponding discussion that goes along with it, but there's no test for that week because you're writing a paper. So you'll get to that, but everything's right there. You'll find it. Okay, discussions. So discussions are not optional. They are a part of the class. This has been a confusion in the past. So I just want to make sure we touch on that. Each discussion is worth 10 to 15 points. Some of them require you to reply to your fellow students' posts and kind of create a group discussion, and those are worth a little bit more. You're doing a little bit more that week, so that usually makes sense. All right. So on the note of discussions, specifically this Title IX, which is what we mostly want to talk about when it comes to discussions, this is discriminatory comments or negative comments, right? If your fellow classmate kind of gets the topic wrong for whatever reason, they misunderstood something, you don't have the right to slander them and that kind of stuff. I'm not going to tolerate it. Eastern's not going to tolerate it. So don't do that. Again, we're all in an academic environment and we're all here to learn. There's also the Americans with Disabilities Act. If you have a disability that impairs your ability to perform in this course in any way, shape, or form, email me. Let me know. I am here to help you. If you need whatever resources you need, we will get you the resources that you need. All right, moving on. Okay, finally to this week's discussion. So the first discussion is just a get to know you discussion. So this is an opportunity for you to introduce yourself. I'm going to introduce myself just to get the ball rolling. So the questions I want you guys to answer are, who are you? So my name is Lacey Oliverio. I am the professor for this course. So what are you studying or plan to study? You don't have to have the whole idea of everything you're going to do right here, right now. You can say, I might want to study this. But I studied art and art history at West Virginia University, and then I went to Clemson University for my master's. When and where would you go if you had a time machine? This one like changes for me all the time. I do think I would go back to ancient Rome, which is really like that's a time when there's a lot of art and creation, obviously. I'm sure you may have heard of that, but it's also a time of the beginnings of globalization. Groups are coming together, they're talking to each other, there's a lot of information sharing. So there's like this kind of huge boost in human kind of living standards because of all of that information sharing, which has to do with evolving all kinds of technologies and that kind of stuff. So on a side note about that is don't be that person that's too cool for a school and says, I would just go surfing. So it doesn't matter when or where I would go in time because the ocean would be there, right? Don't be that person. There's a history element to this class. Give it a minute or two of thought. Where would you go if you could go? And why would you maybe not go to some other place, right? I want to know why you choose this place and time. And then just for fun, how do you get your caffeine? Are you a coffee, pop, tea drinker, hot tea, cold tea? I like in the morning I have to have coffee with cream, no sugar. That's not for me. Hot coffee, even if it's summertime. So, and then you can attach a photo if you wish. So this will be due Monday, right? Which will be forgot the date. Okay, if you have any questions, check your course calendar for that date, right? So that's your responsibility. So if you have any questions, email me. There's a little link thing that says email your professor in Brightspace. Try to put Art 100 in the subject. Email me from your official Eastern email. If you email me from gogo@yahoo.com and say, I need access to the test, I'm going to be like, I don't know who you are. I don't know why you're emailing me. You know what I mean? So kind of keep it official. So, all right, that's it. Get your first discussion done.